Fank Wren. I played for the Jamestown Expos in 1978. I came back as a coach in 1981, 1982, 1983, and then as the general manager of the Jamestown Expos in 1985. And really enjoyed my time every summer in Jamestown and met a lot of great people. And it's my pleasure to read Chapter 10 of Dave Moulet's Across the Seams. Vince McNamara retired as New York Penn League president in 1985 after 37 years of service. McNamara's replacement was former Auburn Citizen sports editor Leo Pinckney, who inherited a strong 12-team league which had topped the 500,000 mark in attendance in 1983 for the first time since the late 1940s. In Jamestown, Fank Wren returned to College Stadium, this time as general manager. After coaching in the Montreal minor league system in 82 and 83, the 1985 Falcons field manager was Ed Creech, called a throwback to the days of Pat Doherty, according to the Post-Journal sports editor Jim Riggs, with regards to his aggressive style of managing and his energetic personality. Creech's pitching staff included 22-year-old Randy Johnson, a 6'10" future All-Star who would strike out 308 batters in 1993 to lead the American League. The tallest pitcher in Major League history, Johnson was considered a strong prospect in 1985 because of his overpowering fastball, but his temper was already a problem. One concern is Johnson's ability to handle frustration, read a scouting report. He missed a month last season because he broke his right hand slugging a dugout wall. The Expos edged the Erie Cardinals and the Niagara Falls Rapids to win the division with a 45-33 record, and Expos fans were again hoping for their first championship in over 30 years. As part of the new playoff system, the Expos would face the Auburn Astros, winners of the Central Division, in a one-game playoff. The winner of the one-game semifinal round would advance to the best-of-3 championship series. The Expos struck out 15 times and managed just 3 hits to lose 6-0. After being ousted from the playoffs at Auburn's dilapidated Falcon Park, Creech and his Expos were forced to wait for 2 hours because their bus wouldn't start. This about sums up the night, said Jamestown's losing pitcher.
Started in Jamestown in 1978, where he was assigned after graduating from St. Petersburg Junior College. Here, let's have Frank tell you the story.
35, 40 guys here. And I remember I didn't play at all the first 8 or 10 games. I mean, not even pinch run, pinch hit, nothing, because we just had so many guys. Mm-hmm. And we were going to Auburn. I remember, just like it was yesterday, we were going to Auburn, and I started to get down because it was, it wasn't going very well. And I went in and talked to Pat. We got the hotel in Auburn, and I went in and talked to Pat. I said, Pat, I know I'm not the worst guy on the team, but am I ever going to get in the game? He says, you're in there tonight, buddy. And so I got 3 hits that night. And so I think he put it back in the next night, and I got 3 hits again, or 2 hits, at least 2 or 3. I can't remember what it was. And I started playing more, and then ended up having a real good year.
Yeah, it was made the All-Star team.
Mm-hmm. And you were the MVP that year, right?
MVP that year, right.
And I'm interrupting this, but what's interesting, they always tell you who you can play. It's like with Wren, same thing with Gene Glenn. They don't need to play. If you need them, play them. And I mentioned I thought you were a middle infielder, but you ended up.
I started out second base, but I didn't play in center.
And then you would play anything, so It didn't matter.
Right.
And then so we moved around. You had certain guys you had to play.
Right.
Which is
Tony Phillips, Glenn Franklin.
Yeah. So telling them, I couldn't think of Franklin, but.
Yeah, he was telling
And
stories
then you
about
ended up being the All-Star. That's how smart a manager Doherty was. I got the guy sitting on the bench, and you know what happened? If you went 0 for 5, you might not have got in for another 10 days, and pretty soon you're home.
Remember how I found out I made the All-Star team? We're driving to Niagara Falls, and Vince McNamara pulled the bus over. We're driving to Niagara Falls, and we just get outside of Buffalo, and
It's our last trip.
And the state police stopped the bus.
Yeah.
And it's Vince McNamara. He didn't have time to go to because he was going to Geneva. He had to go to, I think he had to go to, what was the other team up there?
North?
No,
North Geneva.
just outside of where the Indians always were.
But Batavia.
Batavia. He had to go to Batavia to make a presentation. He said, I don't have time to go both places. He says, I'll make your presentation right here on this throughway. So we pulled off, and so Pat asked me to get the police stop the bus. So Pat says, Brandon, come here. I didn't know what was going on because the state police stopped the bus. And Vince McNamara, congratulations, you made the All-Star team. Right on the side of the throughway. It was amazing. In '79 is when I had the first hemorrhage, which turned out later to be a brain tumor. I had surgery in '81 and then came here the second half. And
I was telling Greg that when you had called and said that you were sitting around and wanted to know if you could be a coach, That was an 80, that was when?
It was 81.
81.
Yeah, Geb came to visit me in the hospital, and he kind of threw it out there, would you want to do it? And I said, I'd love to do it. I don't know if I'll be able to do it. This was before I even had the surgery. I was still in the hospital before the surgery. And then it all kind of worked out after that.
That sounded great. I know I asked Fanning, and Fanning said, oh, we better not. Something might happen to him. And
I don't know. But I played half a year in 82, and then Geb offered me a coaching job to come here and coach with Moby.
Mm-hmm.
And so I coached here in 82, 83, 84. No, 82 and 83, following into 81 season with Pat.
Mm-hmm.
And then 84, I stayed in Gastonia and coached the whole year. And then 85, I came here as a general manager.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to manage that year. I was going to manage Calgary.
Mm-hmm.
And Calgary got the AAA club. And so Eddie Creech went from Calgary to here. And that left me out of managing. And I was going to go, this is a funny story, I wanted to go manage someplace.
Mm-hmm.
So we were in the instructional league, and Pat and I would talk every day. I finally met with Geb one day for lunch on a Sunday, and we came to an agreement that he would let me go out and try to get another job as a manager, because that's what I wanted to do. But he didn't want to pay me. If I stayed, he didn't want to pay me any more than I was making. So Pat and I would talk. He said, we'll put the word out. So every morning, Geb would come in, those little pink slips for the telephone messages. Pat would write out, Chief Bender of the Reds called, Frank, call ASAP, and he'd leave it on the desk. And Geb would come in and he'd go, did you get this?
Who's calling Frank? Who wants Frank? That's Tamper. Do they know that's Tamper? I said, yeah, I don't know anything about it. But the next day,
he put Marty Scott, Texas Rangers called.
But I told Geb, I said, Geb, I don't know if, but there's a lot of people want Frank. I said, we're going to keep him. We're going to have to give him some money. Well, he's going to get Geb's. Oh, you got $1,000. Don't ever play this back in Colorado. I'll be fired. $1,000 with Geb.
Yeah.
Always $1,000. But anyway, so we kept leaving those notes, and he'd always. We're dressing for
Dick Ballers from Kansas City Royals.
Yeah.
Bill Shreffy, Dodgers.
And Geb would always come in, and when he walked in, that desk was his.
Yeah.
So I'd always just leave the slip, right there. And if we're dressing, he'd say, "Who's calling you now, Frank? Who's this? What's?" So I told Geb, I said, I think the Cubs want, if we don't give him some more money. And then remember that day you were in the field, he had his briefcase out, and I'm walking by Ed in the batting cage.
I remember
it. And you got more money.
I got
like $1,800 raise.
Yeah, got something more. And that's the first day he floated the idea of me coming here to Jamestown. He said, well, did you ever think about being the general manager in Jamestown? And I said, no, never. I mean, that was the farthest from what I really wanted to do. And then,
it was a great experience for you.
Oh,
look back now.
No question. Because what I did is I went back after he asked me. I said, well, let me think about it for a day or two. And I called a few people. And one of the people I actually called was Murray Cook. And Murray was the general manager of the Yankees at that time, I think. He might have been. Anyway, I called Murray because I'd known him in the past, and I know he had done something similar. He'd been the business manager in Gastonia, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I called him. I said, Murray, do you think that on the path I want to go, is this going to help me? He says, I would do it in a heartbeat. Because you're going to learn more. And he was right. I learned more in that summer here because you're a one-man show for the first 3 or 4 months. And then all of a sudden, you get a few interns around. And
you moved up here. You got up here when?
Right after spring training, April 1st. I was the manager of the Jamestown team on the field in spring training, and then I left and came here to start selling advertising. And I had Larry Walker and Sergio Valdez. Well, the funny thing about Randy Johnson is when we signed him out of USC, and Pat was involved in that as far as the scouting standpoint. Our reports obviously were great on him, but when he got here, he had a sore arm, and so Murray was giving Jim a hard time about drafting a guy with a sore arm. And he was wanting Jim to avoid the draft, but he had a pre-existing injury he didn't disclose. And so his bonus check was sent down to me like 1st of July.
You kept it in the desk.
And I had it in my desk. I think it was 40 or 80,000.
Was it? Okay.
Something like 80,000, I think. Because he was a second-round draft choice, and that time I think it was about 80,000. And he would come in every day. And he said, did my bonus come today? I said, I'm still waiting for it, Randy. It's sitting right there in the desk drawer. And I'm waiting, and Jim Fanning would call every 3 or 4 days, and he said, you haven't given that check to Randy Johnson yet, have you? He said, they're driving me nuts here. He said, I don't know why they want to avoid this. He said, this kid's going to be a good pitcher. I don't know why they want to avoid this. Murray was really on him.
Gab too.
Was Gab too?
I was field coordinator there,
right.
And I can remember, and another thing, they really got down on him because at USC, he never touched the ball. He pitched the first game of a conference series on Friday. He'd start Friday and never touched a ball till the next Friday. They just let him. Well, here they're trying to get him to throw. We come in and throw 10 minutes and then day off in 10 minutes, and he totally balked at that. And then the pitching routine was where you throw every 5 days. You got a couple days off. You take your bullpen. He wanted nothing to do with that. And he was
different. He was a different kid.
different.
He was a real different kid. He was very introverted. He was self-conscious about his height, self-conscious about his looks. I mean, he was self-conscious about a lot of things. It really, he had some problems that he had to get over. And it's funny because I talked with him last week when Houston was in town. He's a totally different guy. Yeah. I mean, now he's very self-confident. He's got a beautiful wife, 3 kids. He's happy as can be. And
if he can get a beautiful wife, then anybody in the world. But he pitched 20 innings here. Do you see that? He pitched 20 innings here, allowed 25 hits, walked 24, and only struck out 23, and had an ERA of 5.5. I was thinking he struck out 19 twice in his career.
Right.
He struck out more in 9 innings than he did here. People wonder about Jamestown baseball. He lacked 2 of striking out in 1 game what he did here in 3 games.
right.
Yeah, he was 0-3. He's had a distinguished career, which has included the assistant general managership of the Florida Marlins, which resulted in the 1997 World Championship. Shortly thereafter, the doors opened wide for Fank Wren. Frank would spend a year as the general manager for the Baltimore Orioles. Then, after a not-so-interesting year in Baltimore, Frank moved on and became the assistant general manager for the Atlanta Braves.
But quite honestly, one of the greatest times I ever had in baseball was here in Jamestown. In the 5 years I spent here, I got to know a lot of people. I've got a lot of very special friends.
These are the secrets of champions.
Because we're baseball players and it's a game that's played almost every single day, tell me about how is best for us in repair and recovery of our muscles, of our body at night.
Okay, well, it's a couple of things are important here in terms of repair and recovery. The first thing is that when you fatigue your baseball playing muscles, if you've thrown 5 innings or you've played a 9-inning game, your baseball muscles become fatigued. And those muscles need a full energy cycle at least to initiate repair and recovery. That's why, for example, it's a real bad idea to lift weights after a game. Because what happens there is that the muscles that are used in lifting weights repair and recover, but your baseball playing muscles do not repair and recover. So they become fatigued. So that what happens is the next day and the day after, those fatigued muscles cannot perform very well. And if you keep making that mistake, you're going to be more prone to injury because those muscles are never able to reset. So that's the first thing. You have to give your fatigued muscles a full energy cycle for repair and recovery. Now, during the night is when your body does the big jobs of repair and recovery. And repair and recovery is facilitated by a hormone called melatonin. And melatonin is produced by your body only in the dark and when you are in deep sleep. So to facilitate high levels of melatonin, it's important for you to sleep in the dark. And that doesn't mean your eyes in the dark with goggles. That means your body needs to be in the dark because those receptors that trigger the release of that enzyme that converts to melatonin is only released in the dark, and those receptors are on your skin. So you need to sleep under covers in order to facilitate production of melatonin. It's also advisable to sleep in a temperature of about 65 degrees. And at 65 degrees, your basal metabolic rate goes down to its most efficient working level. So that if you are under the covers and in 65 degrees, you're maximizing the production of melatonin, which maximizes your repair and recovery through your sleep. You get into deep sleep, repair and recovery is very, very, very efficient. Now, the other thing that's important about this is that the level of melatonin that your body produces at night determines the level of serotonin that your body produces the next day. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter that is responsible for reaction time, feel, alertness, and all of those things that are very, very important in playing the game of baseball. So that when you have high levels of melatonin produced at night, you maximize the levels of serotonin produced the next day, and you increase your ability to perform at your optimal level.
So, just as an example, let's say I'm a catcher that just caught 9 innings. If I would go in and lift weights after that game, if I understand you correctly, your body is going to do the repair and recovery on those muscles that I used lifting weights because that's the last thing that I did, and it'll neglect to repair and recover the muscles I used during the baseball games.
That's exactly correct. And over the course of a season, that becomes very dangerous because those baseball muscles are the muscles that we need to safeguard.
Now, can you tell me also this? When I'm done playing at night and I'm hungry, why do I want to go to bed without having food in my stomach?
Okay, well, here's the thing. There's, funny thing about baseball is the post-game spread is sort of a tradition. And the difficulty with the post-game spread is that sometimes there's food on there that requires a whole lot of energy and time to digest. So that when you have undigested food in your stomach, when you go to sleep, your sleep becomes inefficient. You do not produce high levels of melatonin, and your repair and recovery becomes compromised. So that by having a big meal before you go to bed, without allowing a full energy cycle for the digestion process of moving that food into the secondary and tertiary stages of digestion to occur, and that's about a 4-hour time span, without allowing about a 4-hour time span before you go to sleep, what you're doing is impairing your repair and recovery. You're going to have a lousy night's sleep. You're not going to be making a lot of melatonin, and you're going to pay for it the next day because your levels of serotonin are going to be low and you're not going to be able to perform.